What's up, guys? I'm bringing you a team today that I played in Little Cup yesterday and went on a pretty good run. I feel like it gave me a chance to win every single game I played in, so I figured I would share it with you guys. Before we get into it, first of all, huge shout out to my Patreon supporters as usual. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I will say something about this team. I did fast forward through a ton of the Bronzor versus Bronzor mirror matches for you, and I think it's shaved like 10 minutes off this video or something like that. So I do want to get right into it, and we can see how this team works. All right, so this team is lead shadow Venonat, safe switch Seel, and the Seel has lick, not or ice shard, and Bronzor as the closer. So you're gonna see a lot of the time in neutral matchups, I'm going to switch out to Seel, and the goal here is to draw out their Dino or their Dark type so that Venonat can take it out and Bronzor can deal with it. But at this moment, a lot of people aren't very familiar with the matchups. You can see they swap Bronzor into Seel here, and Seel actually, well, it's IV dependent. Thanks to a post on Reddit on the Silph Arena actually alerted me to the fact that Lick Seel was viable. But I swap into Seel or Lick Seel can beat Bronzor if with the correct IVs. My Seel does not have the correct IVs, but it still does quite a bit of damage. A lot of people look at the rankings list and they'll just swap in to kind of to dominate the Seel with their Bronzor, but what they don't realize is that they're reading the matchups for the Icy Wind Seel. So Lick, much better move than Icy Wind on Seel in my opinion. It's a one-turn move. One-turn moves in a 500 CP league are extremely powerful. Look at Bug Bite just go off, just because they added a base extra damage to each attack, and when attacks aren't doing very much damage, it's very important. So actually end up letting Shadow Venonat go down here, but you can see Seel put some work in versus Bronzor, and actually the best counter to Bronzor on this team is Bronzor itself, which is unfortunate because that forces me into a lot of mirror matchups. So as you can see, this is the Icy Wind version of Seel. Sorry, the Ice Shard version of Seel, and it doesn't do very much damage to Bronzor at all. Seel isn't actually even a Ice type, which I think a lot of people seem to think it is because they keep swapping in Why Not into it to try and get counter super effective damage, but it isn't, so it doesn't even get same type attack bonus on Icy Wind, or sorry, well, that's true, but Ice Shard if you were to run it. So now that I've kind of explained the gist of the team, I'll kind of go through how we play this. Bronzor lead extremely common. We're going to swap out right away into Seel. And this is exactly what we want to do. We want to draw out the Dino because we can't have Bronzor going up against that. And Seel can actually force shields off of Dino or take switch advantage. And it's not even just minor shield advantage. I'm going to get 2 shields or feint the Dino here. So instead, I get switch advantage and they're down a shield. So this is just pretty huge already from Seel. Their Bronzor comes in, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to Bronzor mirror match. Now, I already mentioned I fast forward through a bunch of this stuff. I didn't fast forward through this first one because for a couple reasons. First of all, I wanted to show the importance of fast move denial, and I kind of want to show you how painful this is. So you can see I get an extra confusion there. That's my second free confusion through on their charge moves, and I'm going to fast move deny here. So I tap that heavy slam button, but you can see I'm always spamming that fast move button to flood the queue so that they don't get extra confusions through. In this case, we CMP tie, but we'll see how the rest of this matchup plays out. So I tap the heavy slam button, and I continue tapping, and they don't get a confusion through. And their Bronzor, they're going to use a move, but I get my free confusion through. So at this point, I'm up like 4 free confusions on them. What was once a very close matchup is something that is extremely lopsided now. So honestly, the best counter to Bronzor is using your own Bronzor and using proper mechanics. Fast move denial has never been more important before than in the Bronzor versus Bronzor mirror match. And they're forced to swap out, and I'm able to keep switch advantage here. Although Venonat doesn't do very well against Shelmet anyways. I do have 2 shields, and in this case, I will be able to take him down if I want, if I'm spending these shields. Shelmet is a pretty strong Pokemon. It has a weird place in the meta. It doesn't really beat any of the top Pokemon. which I think you kind of need to do, but it does have its own very high stats anyways, and I'm just going to confusion down this Bronzor and finish this. But yeah, these Bronzor mirror matches are painful. If no one wants to switch, then they can last over 3 minutes long. I had multiple games timeout in these sets. But yeah, we're going to see what Shadow Venonat can do. This is a Purloin, and he just absolutely massacres the Purloin. I'm going to shield because I have no idea what the movesets are. And they're going to come in with Drifloon. So Drifloon is okay versus team, but Seel absolutely destroys it. Drifloon seem to like to go for Icy Wind a lot anyways, which is not very effective against Seel. And you can see I'm able to get a shield back here after spending a shield against the Purloin. And I'm going to be able to, I think I'm going to shield this just to make sure I have switch advantage, or just to make sure I have enough energy. And it's a Connie that comes in. So yeah, I want to keep switch advantage because I don't want that Purloin going up against Bronzor, and I can comfortably have my Bronzor against this Cottony, except I decide to show how much damage Poison Fang can do. That's absolutely ridiculous. Shadow Venonat is honestly a beast. It has a very good matchup against a lot of the top meta. Besides Bronzor, the bug poison typing is absolutely fantastic. We see Shadow Stunky here. This is not a great matchup, but it's not a great matchup for the entire team. So Shadow Stunky, in my opinion, is not a very good Pokemon, but it is very good against this specific team. I force a shield and then swap out to Seel, and they decide to swap as well. And this is the thing, you'll see a lot of Cottonies come out. This is a bit worse than Dino, but you also can win back shield advantage here, or switch advantage. And I see that I can win back switch advantage here, although I realize it's not actually that important because Shadow Stunky is good against both Pokemon on my team, but I can just go for this Icy Wind and take out this Cottony. And we have the Shadow Stunky come back in, and now it's a bit lower health, so Venonat can deal with it with a shield. And we just have to hope whatever's in the back, my Bronzor can beat. And guess what? It can, because it's another Bronzor. I mean, speed this up 8 times. It's still probably going to take a decently long time, so I apologize for this. You can see I'm still getting free confusions through. I think I was getting lazy, so they were getting some confusions through too. But like once I got the first free one through, it was like I had the health advantage, and now I have the energy advantage. But yeah, so this is a kind of unfortunate side effect of Little Cup or Bronzor Cup, I guess. But like at least there's a time limit to matches. Otherwise, these could go way longer. I also didn't realize I was inadvertently running this kind of team with a Bronzor and an Icy Wind user. So the games have been kind of long. So Bronzor comes in. Seel versus Bronzor, I like to throw an Icy Wind first if they are locked in the switch with me usually. If not, I like to throw Aqua Tail because they can just swap out and clear the buff. So Seel, you can see, it does a decent amount of damage. The thing is, Bronzor's charge moves hit a lot harder than Seel's. So you're going to still lose unless your Seel has very good IVs, which mine doesn't. Actually, this one is going to come right down to the wire, and they're going to spend an extra shield, which is fine with me. At this point, this Bronzor is such low HP, I can just put in my own Bronzor and just farm all the way up. You get so much energy off of this, even if they just have a little bit of HP left and they're just throwing as much damage as they can. But in comes Dino, and so Dino is a good matchup versus Bronzor, unless Bronzor has a lot of energy. Heavy Slam absolutely shreds, and I'm able to switch in, and oh, this was a bad mistake by me. I decided to get really greedy and go for the Signal Beam instead of the Poison Fang, and I'm forced to, I end up being forced to throw my energy here on Bronzor when I probably should have been able to farm them down. So I think, is this the first loss? Yeah. And it's due to a misplay, not because the team let me down. So you can see that's just, yeah, it should have been a 5 set, but that's what happens when you misread the situation. I really did think I was going to be able to get to that Signal Beam, and Signal Beam probably would have KO'd, but even it's not very effective. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have just went for the Poison Fang, Get the Poison Fang off, blow shield on Bronzor, and able to just confusion down the Vulpix. But don't worry, there'll be a couple 5-0 sets to come with this team for sure. So Carvanha, fantastic matchup for Shadow Venonat, absolutely shreds. And then Kata comes in. A very similar Pokemon to Shadow Venonat, except it runs Night Slash. Instead, I farm up a little bit and I go in with Bronzor. So in hindsight, I probably should have just immediately switched to Seel, because Nikata's a ground type as well. Icy Wind and Aqua Tail both deal a ton of damage. So this is just a symptom of not knowing the matchups very well at this point. And I let my Bronzor almost go down, but I just want to maintain switch advantage. I'm going to throw Heavy Slam here at this Carvanha. They're going to let it through, and it does a ton of damage. And luckily, their final Pokemon is not Bronzor, but it is Cottony. So because it is Cottony, I'm just going to try and burn a shield with Icy Wind. And I know my Venonat has a Poison Fang stored up, which one-shots. So I'm just going to switch over and get that off and go for this easy win. Yeah, like I said, Shadow Venonat has a fantastic time against the top meta. Bug makes it good against Wynot and Dino. The poison typing makes it very good against Cottony. So that covers 3 of the big 4 besides Bronzor, and makes it honestly a perfect pair for Confusion Bronzor at least. So we have a Dino lead here into Toxicroak. I don't know why I'm swapping so slow. That was really dumb. We're just going to pretend it's because I decided to catch the Sludge Bomb and I was counting properly, but it wasn't. I just kind of froze. I hadn't seen a Krogunk before, and the Dino comes out as expected. So get these Heavy Slams off, burn some shields. I don't want to shield my Bronzor at all. They could be baiting. Even if they're not, I want to get that Venonat in ASAP to take this guy down. But I get 2 shields with Bronzor. Bronzor is just such a strong Pokemon. I probably should have Poison Fang there. I could have eliminated Dino before he got to a charge move. And they're going to swap in their own Bronzor. So this game is actually kind of hard. Because they're locked in, as I mentioned, I'm going to go straight for the Icy Wind. And I'm elect not to shield here. And luckily they're running Gyro Ball instead of Psyshock, I guess. Seen a lot of Bronzors run Gyro Ball, but I'm not sure that's the play. Psyshock and Heavy Slam are both very good moves. They hit everything very hard despite Bronzor's really small attack stats, and Seel's just going to be able to clean this up. I even have a ton of energy left on Venonat, so this game was not even as close as it looked, because I elected to farm up instead of throwing energy at the Dino. Yeah, so far we haven't been seeing too many Bronzor mirrors, but they're coming. So Cottony lead, usually they'll swap out. My opponent actually lagged, so I waited for him to join a little bit. And they swap in with their Bronzor, and unfortunately, with this team, Bronzor is your best Bronzor counter, so this is going to happen quite a bit. I have this fast forwarded 8 times, so you can imagine how painful this is in regular speed. Yeah, I think the video editing program does not do too well with 8 times, but I think it was still important to do this. Looking at this freeze frame is probably the same amount of boring as actually watching the Bronzor mirror match in the first place. I just hope that it starts back up here after this Bronzor mirror match is done. What will happen a lot of the time is you have no incentive to switch out, and they do. So a lot of the time I like to stay in and just gain as much energy as I can. So you'll see that I'm going far over the allotted time or allotted charge for Heavy Slam when I'm throwing them. I want to make sure that when they do swap in a dark type, I can pause the switch timer with Heavy Slam and swap out. Yeah, so yeah, what a disaster. So that's exactly how long it took. I even fast forwarded for you guys, but the main thing is you want to keep a lot of energy on your Pokemon. You can see they swapped out, and I swapped out my Bronzor as well. They usually do this right before it faints, only for some reason. At that point, I would just let it go down, and it's a timeout game, and you can see that I barely pull off that victory. Yeah, there's a decent amount of timeout games in Little Cup, which is so sad because it's such a good cup. The games that don't have Bronzor versus Bronzor are so fast and so fun. We're going to see Dino versus Venonat. This is a pretty common lead. They don't usually stay in, though. But I'll shield the Body Slam and just farm down. I think I can beat them to a Poison Fang if I just go for it and get a shield, but it's not worth it to me. I get to the Signal Beam here. I've actually never had the debuff happen, even though they said it's 50%. And they come in with Why Not. So this is why I'm a bit confused. A lot of people have swapped Why Not into Seel, but Lick is super effective and Counter is not super effective, even though Why Not stat product is huge. I think it would be better served going into the Bronzor instead on this team. But as you can see, I'm able to deal quite a bit of damage with this Lick. I'm going to shield because I'm not sure if that'll KO or not. I probably would have been fine, but better to be safe than sorry. And now, because Bronzor is their last Pokemon, I'm going to Icy Wind. And this game is pretty much won. They have a debuffed Bronzor versus my own Bronzor, which I'll go into. And I think this opponent, saves us a ton of time. Thank you, those of you who quit out of guaranteed loss Bronzor versus Bronzor matches. You literally save everybody about 3 minutes of time. And you save me a lot of video editing. So, Connie lead. We're going to see these charms come through. They actually do quite a bit of damage. And this guy, for some reason, is counting moves, even though most people don't know the Venonat moveset, and manages to catch Poison Fang, but blows the shield anyways. And we're going to see this Bronzor mirror match. I like how they just jiggle up and down a little bit. I think we need some like Benny Hill music or something like that. But yeah, just remember fast move denial. You notice how I'm winning every single one of these Bronzor mirror matches. It's not an accident, and I'm coming out of this with a lot of energy too. Enough for a heavy slam for this Why Not. So might be enough to turn the tables, but I can just bring in Venonat here, but I don't. I guess I thought that they had too much energy, and I'm gonna shield the Mirror Coat. Seel and Venonat are both pretty good against Why Not. The one, so and I noticed the switch timer, so I try and get in with Venonat and deal as much damage as I can, so that I can win the timeout game. So if you do see the clock wearing down, just try and deal as much damage while taking as little damage as you can, because the second tiebreaker after number of Pokemon remaining is amount of health left on those Pokemon. So swapping to Shadow Venonat at the end there, I don't know if that won me the game, but that game would have been very close. Otherwise, I think it might have been a game-winning play. The other thing to mention about Shadow Venonat compared to its regular form is one of the matches that you do gain in the one shield is the Why Not match. So if that's important to you, then Shadow Venonat is important. Other than that, on the rankings, it's actually below regular Venonat, so I feel like it loses to a lot of those random Pokemon like Vulpix and all the fire types a little bit harder or something like that. We're going to see Minccino lead, which is good for Shadow Venonat, and unfortunately in comes Shadow Stunky, so I really hope they don't shield that, but they do, and this is a complete misclick. So I was trying to swap to Seel, and instead I swapped to Bronzor, and Shadow Stunky is probably one of the hardest Bronzor counters in the game and is just not a good Pokemon otherwise, so I literally helped this guy out a ton. I don't even get him down here, and this Shadow Stunky is going to have not quite enough energy for a crunch, which is my saving grace here, but the damage has already been done. I know that they have a Minccino, and I probably should have stayed and tanked the Aqua Tail, but they have their own Bronzor, and at this point I kind of know I'm done. So all kind of because of a little mistake. If I go into Seel instead on the Shadow Stunky, I'm able to then match up my Venonat versus their Minccino. And then my Bronzor against their Bronzor. And that should be a pretty straightforward standard victory. So once again, I snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, which is a bit unfortunate, but there still hasn't been a game I lost that wasn't completely my fault gameplay-wise. this team gives you a chance in every single game. So Shadow Stunky in the lead, not great for Venonat. I like to get the Stunky a bit low and then swap out normally, just so that I have that Venonat for later, just in case there's a why not or something like that in the back. The swap also draws out their best Bronzor counter usually. Fortunately, in this case, it draws out a Bronzor, so they're not locked in. So you can see I'm going for Aqua Tail yet again. And I'm going to lose this match. This matchup, but kind of slightly. I go for a shield there. I realize that it's probably more important to shield a Psyshock than it is to shield anything on Bronzor. So we swap at the same time because we both don't like where that matchup is going. And they're going to bring in Cottony, who can do absolutely nothing to Bronzor. I'll tank whatever move. This is Grass Knot is like, that's a powerful move, but it just doesn't do anything. Bronzor is too tanky. And they're going to come in and attempt to win this Bronzor mirror. And I think instead of leaving, they decided to stop attacking. I would prefer if they just left and saved everyone a little bit of time, but very straightforward matchup there. Even though we lost the lead technically to the Shadow Stunky. But yeah, I do think the bug types have a lot of play in this. So Venonat versus Lick Seel. So I actually have some pretty severe lag here. Seel was pretty good against Venonat, but I'm going to let this through. It's an icy win, so I can swap to my own Seel now. And I tried to get the Aqua Tail because I knew they were going to get to the icy win before me. But somehow I CMP tie, which is really unfortunate because now my Aqua Tail is going to hit for nothing. And they're going to swap in a why not. So yeah, this happens again. I'm icy win debuff this time though, so I can't really flip this matchup, but I can do an absolute ton of damage. And I still do have my Venonat in the back, even though he's at very low HP. Yeah, so I don't quite get to that Aqua Tail. And then they're already at a mirror coat, so I'm going to shield up and try and just deal as much damage with this Bug Bite as I can. Go for the Poison Fang because my Signal Beam got shielded last time, and they shield again, so that's good. And I swap out of the Venonat just because I might need to clear debuffs later from their Seel. I need to keep that Venonat alive, but they're able to match up with me and still have their Dino in the back. So they swap their why not into my Seel instead of their Dino, which is a bit confusing. So Barboach, it's the first one I've seen. Shiny Barboach 2, so the flex. I'm going to swap out to catch the Mud Bomb, even though it looked like I was winning. I also swapped to try and draw out the Dino, but there's no Dino here. It is just a Cottony. And even though I was at very low health, yeah, no, I'm going to make them throw their energy. But I could probably fake with an Aqua Tail. No one really counts the one-turn fast moves. So I'm going to charge up a little bit and throw a Poison Fang. And now I have 2 Poison Fangs, so I know that this Cottony is for sure finished. And we'll see what they come out with, and it is a Bronzor. So this match is going to be kind of tough. I need to keep my Bronzor healthy from these Mud Bombs because it's going to be a Bronzor versus Bronzor mirror match, and I do have a Venonat in the back. The problem is they have a shield, so we're going to speed this up 8 times again. I'm so sorry for this. But yeah, this it's not the most riveting of matchups. I'm slowly gaining a little bit of an advantage. Despite them having a shield advantage, I'm going to swap in and finish off with the Poison Fang. So fast move denial wins another game, and it's technically a timeout. So I think that's my 3rd timeout game. I think I've had more timeouts in Little Cup so far than in the rest of GBL combined in 4 seasons. So not really sure what's happening. Dino lead. You're going to see a lot of these, and it's great. Lag a bit, so I don't go for the Poison Fang. I'm just like them. Go for the Body Slam. Shield it up. And take switch advantage with a ton of energy. They come in. I'm going to swap out into Seel. I don't know why I did that. Oh no, it's because they did have switch up. I swapped into Seel so that hopefully they would swap out, and I don't know why I say this, but I want to match up my Bronzor versus their Bronzor later if I'm trying to win. If I'm trying to have fun games, probably not. So at this point, I know I have Venonat. Venonat can take care of Cottony very easily. I'm already at a Poison Fang as well, so this game is pretty much over because it's going to be Bronzor versus Bronzor. They don't know this yet, but as soon as they realize, they also want to save their time. Thank you very much to my opponent there for gracefully bowing out. We're going to end this set with 3 wins. Probably should have been 4. I think that last one, my opponent played well and swapped Why Not into Seel instead of Dino. I don't know if there's no way he knew my team comp, but like it worked out for them. That was the only game that I feel like I didn't outplay myself in so far. And I think so far that's 12 out of 15 wins, which is pretty solid so far in Little Cup. So Alolan Sandshrew, I'm surprised we haven't seen more of these. This is a very strong Pokemon, like very, very strong. And it's running Night Slash too, so don't shield the first ones. I don't know why it stays in here. Seel is a pretty good matchup. Aqua Tail hits very hard. Ice does not resist water. But I'm just not going to shield these early Night Slashes. If I have to, I'll shield the late one. And go for the Icy Wind here because this Bronzor is locked in with me. I'm going to go down, but guess what? We're going to see some exciting Bronzor versus Bronzor action at 8 times speed. And he's debuffed, so this will take even longer. So you can see Sandshrew came in there a little bit. I guess I missed that part to tank a charge move, but then Bronzor comes right back in. So I continue to speed it up. And look at this. Poochyena comes in and Shadow Venonat absolutely destroys Poochyena. It's not even close. Even with Snarl, only gets off 1 Poison Fang. And they're going to bring a Bronzor. And because I want this game to end a little bit faster, and this guy is not leaving, I'm going to just Bug Bite down there. But yeah, so yeah, I think that specific Bronzor versus Bronzor mirror match was like over 3 minutes of unedited video. We're going to see Snorunt here. I'm not actually sure what it has. I'm just going to assume it is the same moveset as Frostlass. And I'm going to swap out to Seel to try and catch the Avalanche, which I do. And then we have a Bronzor come in. So I try to catch the Avalanche because the charge moves on Snorunt actually do threaten my team pretty hard. Avalanche obviously hits Venonat very hard, and Shadow Ball hits the other 2 very hard. So draining Snorunt of that energy is pretty important. If it doesn't actually have Shadow Ball, then ignore me. But so Bronzor versus Bronzor, I didn't speed this one up because I didn't think it would take too long, and I kind of wanted to explain my strategy here. So I'm trying to exit this matchup with as much energy as I possibly can. I throw the Psyshock here, and they shield, which is honestly ridiculous to me. But I'm trying to exit that with as much energy as possible so I can throw charge moves at the next Pokemon. So I think I end up shielding here because I really want to take this Vulpix out. And I know I can afford to spend a shield here. With Bronzor, just in case it's a Flame Charge because it wasn't counting, and it was just a Body Slam. So they don't really have anything left though. This Bronzor is very low HP and they wasted a shield on it. So all I have to do is, like, I'm not even going to throw a charge move. I threw that Psyshock last time just to speed it up a little bit. But this time I know there's absolutely no need. They're going to come back in with a Snorunt, and I have 2 Heavy Slams charged up. And they only have 1 shield. And Steel is super effective against Ice. So it should be a very easy win. And they come back in with their Bronzor. So interesting match, but this is, I don't know, I feel like a lot of Little Cup is about Bronzor energy management. Most teams are running one. Most teams you'll end up with the mirror for a little bit at least. So it's all about exiting that match with as much energy as you can. Okay, so we're going to see Cottony here. Like I said, you can either take a shield or 2 or win back switch. In this case, I decided to go for switch. This Cottony knows that they can tank an Icy Wind, so they played against the Seel already, I see. and they're going to come in with Bronzor. So because they're not locked in, we're going to throw Aqua Tails. Just deal as much damage as we can. If you even land one, it's just kind of a guarantee that your Bronzor will beat theirs in the mirror, even if you're not fast move denying or anything. And they actually get really low to this. And we're going to see how this goes. 8 times. Let's speed this up. Yeah, the video editor does not do very well with this 8 times speed. It's making me really reconsider these Bronzor videos. But yeah, once again, even though this Bronzor is very low, it did take quite a bit of time to get through this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why this one is taking so long, but I guess my only option here is to wait it out. Yeah, I think this started happening more in the later matches as I learned this team, because I found out that this team seemed to have a lot more success when I was matching Bronzor with Bronzor instead of Seel. I used to swap in Seel and kind of just lose it just a little bit, and then farm in with the Bronzor later. But Bronzor versus Bronzor was more consistent for me, at least. Holy cow. Hopefully this didn't freeze for good. All right. I'll pull up where we are in this video, not as a media file, and hopefully continue on from there unless this starts. Yeah, unfortunately this corrupted quite a bit of the rest of this video. It looks like it corrupted oh yeah, a couple minutes worth. Okay, so we'll see if this works. Oh, this is a disaster. Oh, there we go. Finally starts up again. Sorry about this, guys. I was trying to fix something in the background. And we actually come into a different Bronzor versus Bronzor mirror match. So I think we ended up missing an entire game or two here. And unfortunately, it's probably too late in the day for me to re-record this. But we're going to come back into Cottony versus Bronzor, which is a very easy matchup. And we're going to be able to take the victory here. So I think we probably missed 2 games worth of stuff. Spoilers, every game in this set was a win. So yeah, there we go. It's a 5-set complete there. Sorry about that gameplay freeze, guys. Yeah, I can't speed up to 8 times in the future like that, I guess. But yeah, despite the technical difficulties, I appreciate all of those of you who managed to stick through it so far. If you did like that content, despite the Bronzor mirror matches, feel free to give me a subscribe. I'll link my relevant info, my Patreon, Discord, and Twitter in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.